Gentlemen, the Aam Aadmi Party is undergoing capital turmoil. Two of the closest generals of Arvind Kejriwal have stepped down from their mantri post. Accused number one in Liquorgate and currently in the line of fire of the CBI, Manish Sisodia stepped down from key portfolios and submitted his resignation to Arvind Kejriwal. He's been in CBI custody since February 26th and has been given a supreme snub by the top court. The Supreme Court refused to intervene in the matter and asked Sisodia to approach the High Court instead of rushing to the apex court every time. Leaving nothing to interpretation, the Supreme Court also asked why should it entertain the bail plea, and if it does, it will set a wrong precedent. In his resignation letter to Kejriwal, Manish Sisodia flaunted his Krishna Bhakti to make a statement that honesty is true devotion to the Hindu deity and he has always abided by it. He's maintained that the charges against him are false and that he is an honest politician. He's also asserted that he's not scared of going to jail. Manish Sisodia is not the only one in jail for the past 253 days. Satyendar Jain, accused of money laundering too, has stepped down from his post. Jain faces serious charges of hawala transactions and using illegal money to purchase agricultural land. However, the Aam Aadmi Party has been vehemently defending its Kattar Imandars, from likening his ministers to Bhagat Singh to demanding Bharat Ratna. Kejriwal never left a chance to give a clean sheet to his lieutenants. Listen in to what was said in the past by Arvind Kejriwal.
ऐसे व्यक्ति को तो भारत रत्न मिलना चाहिए। मनीष सिसोदिया को गलत तरीके से सताया जा रहा है। उनको अब 3-4 दिन में इनको गिरफ्तार कर लेंगे। गिरफ्तार 1 मिनट गिरफ्तार करने का क्या नतीजा होगा? 3 महीने 4 महीने तक शिक्षा व्यवस्था सफर करेगी। किसके फायदे में है ये? पूरा केस फर्जी है। किसको फायदा होगा? हम काम रुकने नहीं देंगे, लेकिन थोड़े दिन के लिए बाधा तो पहुंचेगी।
मैंने सत्येंद्र जैन के सारे कागज खुद देखे हैं। पढ़ा लिखा आदमी हूं, कानून की भी बहुत समझ है। इनके ऊपर लगाए गए सारे आरोप फर्जी हैं। पूरा का पूरा मामला फर्जी है। केवल राजनीति की वजह से उन्हें गिरफ्तार किया गया। अगर उनके मामले में 1% की भी सच्चाई होती तो मैं खुद ही कब का उनके खिलाफ सख्त एक्शन ले चुका होता। सत्येंद्र जैन देशभक्त है, कट्टर ईमानदार है, बेहद साहसी है। ऐसी जेलें उनके साहस और जज्बे को और मजबूत करेंगी।
The BJP, however, says that walls are closing in on Kejriwal and the day is not far when the Chief Minister himself will join his jailed mantris. The AAP says that the vendetta will not stop the good work of Kejriwal. Listen into the war of words.
We have just learned that Mr. Manish Sisodia has resigned, and so has Mr. Satyendar Jain. And to our great surprise, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal has also accepted the resignation of Mr. Satyendar Jain after 9 months. If Mr. Manish Sisodia had any moral compass left, being the disciple of Anna Hazare movement, he ought to have resigned on the day this scandalous allegations came to light. The whole conduct of Aam Aadmi Party is typified by 3C: cut, commission and corruption.
उनका काम किसी प्रकार से रुकना नहीं चाहिए, बाधित नहीं होना चाहिए। इस कारण से दोनों मंत्रियों का, आदरणीय मनीष सिसोदिया जी का और सत्येंद्र जैन जी का इस्तीफा लिया गया है। उसको मुख्यमंत्री जी ने स्वीकार कर लिया है। इन दोनों मंत्रियों के ऊपर लगे हुए आरोप का सवाल है, ये आरोप पूरी तरीके से बेबुनियाद है, फर्जी है। कैसे एक सरकार को, कैसे आम आदमी पार्टी की बढ़ती हुई लोकप्रियता से, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की बढ़ती हुई लोकप्रियता से घबरा कर और परेशान होकर आज बीजेपी और मोदी सरकार उत्पीड़न की कार्रवाई कर रही है।
Go the smoking gun that many have ignored. The investigators believe that the liquor policy was tweaked to benefit certain liquor barons who got licenses to sell in Delhi. The liquor licenses were given to wholesalers despite the expert committee stating that liquor companies that manufacture as a wholesaler should not be given a liquor license to retail in any zone. The main beneficiaries were Indo Spirits and Enrica Enterprises. The other clincher is the tale of the missing cabinet note. Now, CBI sources have told Times Now that the expert panel had red-flagged irregularities after it availed legal opinion. The report was sent to Sisodia, but strangely, the cabinet note didn't include the legal opinion. That was not in favor of the excise minister's policy. This brings me to my legitimate question this evening. Are these scams plunging up into turmoil?
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
Take this across to our guest. Joining us is Sanju Verma, national spokesperson of the BJP. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author, is with us. Also joining us on the panel is Umesh Sehgal, former Chief Secretary of Delhi. Also with us is Ravi Srivastava, political analyst. Huda Zariwala is a political analyst. Joining us, Khaliqur Rahman is a leader of the BRS, and advocate Kapil Madan, political analyst, joining us on the panel. Let me start with you first and foremost, Ravi Srivastava. There are several questions. That come out of this entire investigation. From a missing cabinet note to questions as far as these resignations are concerned. In fact, of one of the ministers, at least, Mr. Satyendar Jain, BJP says the resignation is happening 9 months too late. What has changed? Because just a few days ago, we heard Arvind Kejriwal saying that Manish Sisodia deserves a Bharat Ratna. What happened?
I think Arvind Kejriwal, whatever has said, he said it right. There is no doubt about it. All these charges are in the realm of speculation. Nothing has been proved yet. It is only a remand. It will last for 3-4 days, and then a regular bail will be applied. And as far as resignations are concerned, these are just given to smoothen the inquiry process so that there is no interference in that. And the agencies are free to do the investigation. But the fact is, the charges are bogus, fabricated, concocted, will not stand the scrutiny of the law. It's a fact. And my question here is, if tomorrow, like 2G, like Bofors, like several other cases where nobody could be convicted till date, the same fate will be to this particular case as well.
No, but what about the tweak in the policy, sir, to allow for wholesalers into select retail zones? If that was not allowed by the expert committee, why did the government change that policy? And even the margin being changed from 5% to 12%. Now, these are very, very serious charges which have caused not just loss to the exchequer, but also raised serious questions about the manner in which these tweaks to the policy were done.
These are all perceptions. These are all allegations. These have not met the judicial scrutiny yet. When it goes before the honorable judge, then only it will be decided that how far these are correct. We have got several things. That 30 crore was taken, the 240 crore was refunded, the commission was raised from this to that level. Why all these things were approved by the honorable LG only, who was appointed by the BJP, and the same BJP appointed LG makes a complaint against it.
Okay.
So this is to be seen that who is doing all this? This is nothing but the BJP who is doing all this. You say the documents have been, evidences have been destroyed. All evidences were taken by the CBI. How can Manish Sisodia destroy that? He is not at a flight risk anywhere. He is a constitutional post deputy chief minister. Where will he go? Where is the need for...
Incidentally, what the CBI has said, sir, is very clear that they did recover one of the files. They retrieved one of the files which was allegedly deleted from Mr. Manish Sisodia's computer, which was seized in January this year. But anyway, be that as it may, you have made certain points. And before I go across to Mr. Arima Sundaram, senior advocate, and Umesh Sehgal, former chief secretary, who would be able to give us more of that legal perspective, particularly when it comes to matters of governance, I want Sanju Verma to respond to the two charges that have been made politically. It's BJP that's doing everything, Sanju Verma. And one important point, but one point I will concede, is a question that Mr. Ravi Srivastava has asked, which was also used incidentally in the Rouse Avenue court yesterday by the lawyers of Manish Sisodia, because they say it is the LG who signed off on this policy. The LG suggested certain changes, and if that was incorporated, how can the blame be put solely at the doorstep of the AAP government or the Kejriwal government? Your response, Sanju Verma.
You know, Madhav, let's be very clear, without any ifs or buts whatsoever. The fact of the matter is that the LG initiated an inquiry into the erstwhile fraudulent excise policy at the behest of the Chief Secretary of Delhi, Mr. Naresh Kumar. Point number one. Point number two, if you read the GNCTD Act of 1991, which talks about the division of powers between the Chief Minister, Arvind Kejriwal in this case, and the Lieutenant Governor, Mr. V.K. Saxena in this case. The GNCTD Act clearly says that the Lieutenant Governor primarily has responsibility for land, police, and public order, as in law and order. So when it comes to excise policy, the LG has nothing to do with it in terms of how an excise policy is implemented. But if the Chief Secretary initiates an inquiry through the LG has every right to put forth the case to the CBI, which is what was done in this case. Now the most important point, I have been seeing on your channel over the last 48 hours odd that one of the key persons who was earlier a confidant of Manish Sisodia and has since turned an approver, he has categorically said that he handed over checks to Manish Sisodia. He has also claimed that money was fraudulently used for assembly elections in some states. And not only this, I have one question to ask. Repeatedly, Manish Sisodia was asked that the normal process is that if an L1 license bidder does not get the L1 license, the earnest money that he has deposited with the government, the Kejriwal government in this case, that earnest money is to be forfeited by the bidder. In this case, on what grounds did Manish Sisodia refund the earnest money of over 40 crores to the likes of Samir Mahendu, who owns Indo-Spirit Group? Also, the most important thing, Manish Sisodia's ex-personal assistant, who has been a privy to many a fraud. I will finish in 10 seconds. Please, Mr. Srivastava, I did not heckle you. Let me finish. Mr. Manish Sisodia's ex-confidant and personal secretary, C. Arvind, has clearly said that when the commission was increased from 5% to 12%,
one at a time, please. One at a time, yeah. Mr. Ravi Srivastava, there's plenty of time. There are a lot of panelists. Please, one by one. One by one. I don't want anyone shouting over each other. Yes. Make a complete your point. Sanju Verma, I'm coming to Ravi Srivastava. Please hold on. Please hold on. Please hold on. You can rebut her. You can rebut her. Let her make a point. Complete your point, Sanju Verma. Quickly.
Thank you. Thank you, Madhav. The most important point in this case is that C. Arvind, till about few weeks back, Arvind Kejriwal, Satyendar Jain, Manish Sisodia, Gopal Rai, they used to say C. Arvind's word is the gospel of truth. Today C. Arvind has also turned hostile and said that the GOM note in which the commission was increased from 5 to 12%, that was not circulated. There was no discussion of the GOM note.
Okay.
Surreptitiously, commission was raised from 5 to 12%.
Yes.
And out of the 12%,
and where is the cabinet note?
Commission was paid.
And where is the cabinet note? That missing cabinet note where that legal opinion was not given is also very material to this investigation, is it not, Ravi Srivastava? Because the investigators are saying that there was a cabinet note, but this legal opinion was not included in that. So on what basis was this decision taken is still not clear.
See, Madhav, the onus of proving all these things is on the prosecution. It's not
I will just answer that in 20 seconds, Madhav.
Hey, 1 minute. Allow me to finish now.
Yeah, Ravi Srivastava.
The ED's case, the onus is on the person who is alleged. In CBI, the onus is on the CBI. The CBI has to produce it. What was the deal for last 8 months?
May I respond to that, Madhav? Can I just take 10 seconds to respond to that? That's a very important point.
CBI has taken very long. CBI has taken 8 months, 10 months. What were they doing? That's a question from Ravi Srivastava. Why have they taken so long?
Let me tell you, the CBI has taken the time that it would normally take to follow the due process of law. The inquiry was initiated in July 2022. The charge sheet was filed somewhere in September, October 2022.
Okay.
And the CBI first under section 306 of the CRPC asked the Delhi High Court, can Dinesh Arora be made into an approver?
Okay.
The Delhi High Court said.
Okay, Sanju Verma and Ravi Srivastava, I'm going to ask you both to hold on to your thoughts. There are several other of our panelists who have not yet spoken. I want to just understand this one by one, just to put it in perspective. Let me also bring in Mr. Umesh Sehgal, who's a former Chief Secretary of Delhi. Mr. Umesh Sehgal, it's all very well to say that this has not received judicial scrutiny, but the charges are extremely grave and extremely serious, because here you're talking about a policy tweak that allegedly benefited certain private individuals, where the allegation is that money apparently exchanged hands. Of course, all this will have to ultimately be proved by the CBI. Nobody is discounting that fact, but these are very, very serious charges. And the nature of the manner in which the expert committee's advice has been ignored on at least 2 counts that we know. One is of the kind of persons who can actually bid for the retail licenses, and also the manner manner in which the entire process is actually being handled, all of this raises some serious questions. Mr. Sehgal.
Well, the matter is so serious, the issue is so serious that the excise commissioner and another officer of the excise department were immediately suspended by the central government. So it is not to say that there is nothing. The matter was serious even before the investigation started. As soon as the report came, and Lieutenant Governor then recommended the suspension of these two officers. Now ministers cannot be suspended. So ministers have to be charge sheeted. There have to be criminal cases against them. That is why the CBI has been investigating the cases, and they have filed one charge sheet. Now, depending on the interrogation of Mr. Sisodia, they will decide whether a second charge sheet is to be filed or not. If a second charge sheet is not filed, the matter will end. The case against Sisodia can then only be raised by the court. Otherwise, the matter is over. If they do file a charge sheet, again, the matter is before the court, and it is up to them to take cognizance of the case or not. There is no doubt that all these have to be proved by the CBI. And the point is, there is a presumption in law. Something is called a presumption in law and a presumption in fact. So if it is my document in my custody and if it is missing, how is the onus on the CBI to prove and to produce that document? Because it was my document in my custody. So the onus on me is to prove that document. So I'm not going into the legal issues because you have a senior counsel here. He'll go into the legal issues. Now the argument that the LG has approved, so any irregularity can be should actually be passed on to the LG. It is ridiculous. I mean, it is not understandable because Chief Minister has also approved. The file has also gone through him. So the Chief Minister, by the same logic, he should also be arrested, or he should also be held responsible. No, unless you have positive evidence of misdoing, because these are criminal investigations now going on. These are not civil investigations. These are not departmental cases. These are criminal cases. So you need a higher level of evidence to prove, not preponderance of probability, but the burden beyond reasonable doubt. So the CBI has taken time. They are going to now collect evidence. Prima facie, in the first instance, the court has been convinced that they have been able to collect enough evidence, and they have been prevented.
Let me bring in Huda Zariwala on that point. Huda Zariwala, questions that are being raised where Mr. Ravi Srivastava insists that the onus is on the prosecution. What about the files that were allegedly in the custody of Mr. Manish Sisodia? He also has to prove what exactly happened on the basis of which these decisions were taken. And it's wrong for you to blame the LG for every decision, because by that yardstick, even the Chief Minister would have to owe up responsibility, says the learned former Chief Secretary of Delhi. Please respond to these 2 points.
Good evening, Madhav Ji. Honestly, at this point in time, questions revolving around, the entire case going against Manish Sisodia Ji and Dr. Satyendar Jain. Let me, you have very senior panelists on the show. I will definitely answer your question, but there's one thing that I'd like to ask from your channel, from the people, not just of Delhi, but all of India. When are we going to see a time when the ministers, right from Modi ji to the Home Minister Amit Shah ji, to the likes of all the people of BJP who have been blatantly involved in corruption, be called at task? When will they be submitting their resignation letters? At least Aam Aadmi Party, in good faith. Aam Aadmi Party in good faith. Allow me to, Sanju ji, allow me to answer. Sanju Verma, allow me to answer. I did not heckle. Do not heckle me. I will not be heckled like this. Do not
One at a time. Let me just come in here. Ladies, let me just come in here. Huda Zariwala, 1 second. I'm just going to request you, Huda Zariwala. 1 second. Throwing mark at each other, you can do it if you want. I mean, that's your prerogative. Everybody has the freedom to say what they want to. But I'm asking you certain specifics about the Delhi excise scam. Yes, if you have certain questions in relation to the excise scam about the wrongdoing of the BJP, please by all means put them forward to Sanju Verma and ask them. But don't make a general comment that when will people in the BJP resign. Say why. Why do you believe they should? What is the wrongdoing on their part that you are specifically alleging? And back it up with facts, please.
Okay, Let me answer.
Exactly.
Let me answer the question. Let me answer the question at hand. Let me answer the question at hand. Aam Aadmi Party has been known time immemorial for only serving the people. The fact that these resignation letters were submitted only goes on to show how Aam Aadmi Party is actually concerned for the Janata of Delhi. I mean, at this point in time, the work of the Janata of Delhi should not suffer, which is why precisely these resignation letters have been submitted.
God.
There are no criminal charges against
This woman
either.
is so funny.
Proven
Satyendar Jain is
against
in
either of the
jail.
two ministers.
Manish
So at this
Sisodia
point,
has been remanded
at
to
this
custody.
point, at
and
this
this
point,
woman is saying
at
कि
this
अभी हम
point,
कट्टर ईमानदार
at
वाली
this
सरकार
point,
है.
it is only the BJP heckling, it is only the BJP, BJP troubling the Aam Aadmi Party at the behest of BJP. CBI is acting. There are no charges proven
Huda
against
Zariwala.
him. Time and again, there are no charges proven against
Huda
him.
Zariwala,
His name-
if I can just come in.
Madhavdas G,
If I can just come in, you know, there are several points that you've not answered. You've not answered the questions that I've posed to you. And if this was the yardstick, then certainly 9 months ago when Mr. Satyendar Jain was put in jail, that also hindered governance because you ended up in a position where Manish Sisodia is handling 18 portfolios. Is that a symbol of good governance? I don't know. And I certainly, of course, will leave that answer open to our viewers. But let me quickly bring in some of our other panelists on this. Arima Sundaram, you know, the political fight apart, there is a political slugfest that is currently underway. But this raises a lot of serious questions. Because the CBI says that it has evidence in the form of computers, it has evidence in the form of what is publicly available in form of the experts committee advice where the policy was tweaked. And as per the CBI, there is wrongdoing because the tweaking of that policy happened A, to benefit certain private individuals, and B, it happened in a manner which was, you know, completely in violation of government procedure. Arima Sundaram.
Look, I think people have to take this in perspective when you're dealing with policy matters. You have policies, a policy could be faulty. It could be faulty, it could be a bad policy, it could be a policy which ought not to have been followed, it could have been a policy which had some procedural irregularities in arriving at the policy. Now that is one kind of policy. You have another kind of policy which you find is either so arbitrary, is so procedurally irregular, which creates a strong feeling that this policy was actuated by other than just the need to formulate a policy. It was actuated by some kind of malefides, and that is the feeling which arises. Now, if I take you to the 2G case, the courts seemed to feel that the policy fell in the second sector. That is, that it seemed to be a policy so faulty, seemed to be twisted to help some people, and seemed to be a policy with an oblique motive. This is what the courts felt. But that is so far as the policy is concerned. There is a third limb to it. And that third limb to it is, all right, if a policy was so twisted that the intention was obliquely to support some people, to help some people, to do something which is underhand or illegal, which was the feeling of the Supreme Court when they struck down the 2G's policy. The third aspect is, was that culpability established and proved that yes, even if the policy gave signs that it was an oblique policy, was there actually illegalities committed which fell foul of the Indian statutes, the Corruption Act, the Prevention of Corruption Act, the Indian Penal Code, etc. Now that is where, in the 2G case, that was not established, the third limb, to show the actual criminality behind the policy. Today where we stand, I think, is that at least from a public perception of it, the policy, the liquor policy, definitely seems to fall in that category too of what I said the 2G scam was all about, that 2G policy was all about. It seems to fall in that category where there seem to be very, very serious questions, raising very serious questions also. There seem to be very strong feelings that there could have been oblique and unwanted conduct which went about bringing this up. Which is why the CBI is investigating to see whether the third limb is being made out. That is to say, whether there is actually this perception, the evidence which seems to be pointing out at some underhand dealings, at some oblique dealings, the CBI is investigating and finding out whether people were really involved in such dealings, which gives rise to the criminality. So far as Manish Sisodia and others are concerned, it's at a fledgling stage. Today, there is a stage where he's undergoing custodial interrogation, which usually happens when there is a strong feeling of the investigative authority that a person is involved in an illegality and required to get information out of him, which he is not giving, and therefore custodial investigation is asked for, and this case it has been given. As to what is going to be the outcome of that, the evidence that is going to be unearthed to show whether that third limb of the culpability is actually made out is what we're waiting for and what we'll see.
Well, in fact, several allegations.
There is a very strong feeling that the second limb is made out, that the policy is certainly something which is very, very questionable and gives rise to all kinds of speculation.
Absolutely, because, you know, the allegations that have been made by various agencies, the ED and the CBI have both been probing it. A waiver of 144.36 crores given to the liquor cartel on license fee with the excuse of COVID-19. 100 crores received by Vijay Nair from the South Group allegedly for tweaking the excise policy. These are 2 points that have also been mentioned. And on that note, I want to go across to BRS. I will come to you, Anand, as well as Kapil, in just a moment. Let me quickly bring in Mr. Khaliqur Rahman on this point. Khaliqur Rahman, the allegation being made here is very serious, because an allegation is being made of 100 crores being received by Mr. Vijay Nair from the so-called South Group, which includes Mr. Boinpalli allegedly and several others, and that money being used even for certain state elections. This is a very, very serious charge, but the agencies claim that they have the evidence for it.
These are
all right, I apologize for the poor quality of that connection, Mr. Khaliqur Rahman. We'll just try and reconnect with you, but this is a very, very serious aspect of this investigation as well. Before I come across to Anand Raghunathan, in fact, all right, Anand Raghunathan, I want you to come in on this, because, you know, these are very serious charges. And the third leg, which Mr. Arima Sundaram was talking about, which at this point of time is only in the, you know, we can only take at face value what the CBI is saying. It will have to ultimately prove this in court, and we don't know what the investigation further will reveal as far as this aspect is concerned. But this is a very, very serious aspect. If the CBI does manage to prove this, then the third leg, which in fact Mr. Arima Sundaram was talking about, would perhaps be there for all to see in terms of what really was the actual meaning or the actual gain of this entire tweak of the policy.
Good evening, Madhav, and good evening to all my fellow panelists. As usual, Mr. Sundaram has made some brilliant points, and listening to them, I'm sure Mr. Sisodia, if he isn't listening to this program, must be lamenting that the investigations on him are being carried out by CBI and not the ED, because the ED conviction rate is 0.5%, whereas the CBI's conviction rate is 70%. But be that as it may, you know, there is a lot of political tu-tu-meh-meh. The BJP and the AAP and the Congress are at loggerheads trying to say that, oh, you are guilty, you are innocent. But unfortunately, it makes the viewer none the wiser. So let me paint a picture for you. I think it'll really help us, all of us, as well as the viewers. Let me take all of us back to 2011. I'm just painting a picture. The year is 2011. Arvind Kejriwal is in charge of India against corruption. The Congress government at Delhi is led by Ms. Sheila Dikshit. So in 2011, let us say if the Sheila Dikshit government formulated an excise policy, that it suddenly reversed. The investigations then found out that there was prima facie violations of the GNCDD Act 1991, violations of Transaction of Business Rules 1993, violations of Delhi Excise Act 2009, and violations of Delhi Excise Rule 2010. The investigations found out there was financial quid pro quo at the top political level, wherein Sheila Dikshit took major decisions in violation of the statutory provisions. The investigations were also found out that, quote, deliberate and gross procedural lapses were taking place to provide post-tender undue benefits to liquor licensees. The investigations found out that the excise department gave a waiver of rupees 144.36 crores to the licensees on the tendered license fee in gross violation of Rule 4811B of the Delhi Excise Rules 2010. Also, the excise department revised the formula of calculation of rates of foreign liquor without approval of the competent authority. Also, 100 crores were received by Sheila Dikshit's closest aide from the liquor barons to tweak the policy. And finally, Sheila Dikshit's closest aide had turned an approver. These are 9 facts that, let us assume, happened in 2011. The question I asked to Mr. Ravi, who had formulated Aam Aadmi Party, and to Ms. Huda, is Arvind Kejriwal being in charge of India against corruption and seeing all these things happen in the Sheila Dikshit government, what would he have said? Waving that flag. Would he have said that Sheila Dikshit is innocent? Would he have asked for the resignation of Sheila Dikshit? I'll tell you what he would have said. He would have said exactly what he and Sisodia said and tweeted without an iota of judicial evidence or conviction against Sheila Dikshit. You know what they called her? They called her Dalal. So I asked these two AAP spokespersons, would Kejriwal have labeled Sheila Dikshit Dalal, assuming all these prima facie evidences or not? Answer yes or no.
Okay, I'm going to quickly allow Ravi to comment on that. Ravi, direct question for you. Direct question before I come across to others. Yes, Kapil, I see your hand. I see the hand of Khaliqur Rahman as well. Quick response, Ravi Srivastava.
Entire statement of yours, Anand Ranganathan, is hypothetical. And hypothetical cannot...
No. Ravi Srivastava, he has a very pertinent question because for much less that has come out in the public domain, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal is out there. He has asked for resignation of ministers when he was out of power. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget the India against corruption days, sir. It seems that there is selective amnesia going on over here. Let's not. I think this is a very pertinent point that he has raised. The panelist has made a pertinent point. You can't skirt the question, please.
He was an activist. He was not a chief minister. He was not a politician that time.
Oh,
So he can make any charge he wants.
As an activist, you don't have...
Mr. Ravi Srivastava, surely you can't have double standards like these on national television. What are you saying, sir? What are you saying, sir? On national television, please, he was not a chief minister, so he could say whatever he wanted to. Come on. Let's not insult the intelligence of our viewers. Please let us not. Please let's not do that. At least, at the very least, for a person who came to power riding on coattails of alleged corruption of others, at least he should hold himself to a higher virtue and a higher standard. That is the very least that people will expect of him. But nevertheless, I want Kapil to respond to that. Kapil, does that argument make any sense to you? Mr. Kejriwal was not the chief minister then.
Madhav, I think, Anand has, very elaborately have mentioned what exactly, the AAP could have done if, it was a different party who has, done or who were facing this kind of allegation. Now, let me first, answer the political rhetoric which, AAP now uses. Now, AAP is basically, creating a narrative that, they are being the political opponent of the BJP and therefore they are being victimized because they are, so-called serving the government of the people of Delhi. Now, let me just, give you a legal perspective and I would, add to what Mr. Sundaram said. Now, Mr. Sundaram has said what exactly has happened. Now, we've been seeing statement by, Mr. Kejriwal, by Mr. Manish Sisodia from the past 6-7 months, and they were showing an apprehension that there could be a possibility where, Mr. Sisodia could have been arrested. When you knew that this is coming and when you knew that, there is no evidence against you and this is just a, political vendetta against you, you had ample amount of time. You could have, sought an anticipatory bail or you could have, availed your legal remedies. The fact remains, you have not done anything. And in fact, now today also, rather than proving their defense, whatever they have by filing, a proper bail application before the trial court or objecting to the remand that was sought today, what you did, again, you tried to create a narrative and you straight away went to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court very rightly rejected. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you are saying that you being politically, there is a political vendetta that has been unleashed, you go and prove before the court, prove that there is no allegation, prove that, all this is malafide, prove that, there is no case against you, prove that, your custodial investigation is not required. And let me give you another, very interesting aspect of it. Now, Mr. Sundaram is here. I mean, for securing a bail, one needs to prove to the court that there are no chances that you can influence the investigation. Now, Mr. Kejriwal makes a statement on Twitter and he says that he's been informed by CBI officers that CBI officers were not really interested in, arresting Sisodia. Who's in touch with CBI officers? Why CBI officers are speaking with
Is that not influencing the investigation? Is that not influencing the investigation?
Yes. To my understanding.
Huda Zariwala. Isn't that influencing the investigation?
And I would like to have Mr. R.M. Sundaram's view because yes. He argues these kind of cases every day in the Supreme Court.
I want Huda to quickly respond to that before I go across to Mr. Sundaram. Huda Zariwala.
May I answer? Okay. Just the fact that Aam Aadmi Party is doing everything in its power and jurisdiction to actually, serve the people of Delhi. The fact that the work of the people of Delhi doesn't suffer is the reason why these resignations have taken place. So, do you not understand the clear malified intention of the BJP, the clear political vendetta in this case?
No,
and
but why aren't you following procedure? Supreme Court threw out your petition today. You should have gone to the High Court. You should have proved what is the evidence of his innocence. These are the questions that Kapil Madan is raising. Please answer those questions. You're just talking about the work that Aam Aadmi Party did. What is the evidence of his innocence? Where are the papers that prove that he is not guilty? Bring out the document trail, madam. Who's stopping the Aam Aadmi Party from doing that?
He is guilty. Where is that? Okay, where are the documents that proves that he is in fact guilty? Are they documents proven so far? Even against Dr. Satyendar Jain, he may be in jail, but where is he actually alleged? I mean, these are just he said, she said allegations. Isne wo keh diya, this particular person turned into somebody who is speaking against Arvind Kejriwal.
Sure, nobody is denying the judicial scrutiny is left. Nobody denies the judicial scrutiny is left, madam. But let me bring in Arima Sundaram. Is it just he said, she said at this point, Mr. Arima Sundaram? Because, Huda Zariwala would have us believe that these are not serious charges, that this is just allegations. It's not worth responding to, perhaps, in the form of documents.
Well, if they're not serious allegations, I'm sure that any court that he approaches for the purpose of bail or even quashing, if they were not serious, then he should see that they're quashed. But so long as these charges are there, I think at this juncture, what Mr. Sisodia needs to do, if he feels that he is not involved in this at all, is A, to apply for bail, and B, go to the High Court and say, please quash it because there's nothing against me. Now, to say at this juncture that there is absolutely nothing, I don't think is that easy. But I will say that at this stage, what the CBI is saying is, they have enough material to ask for a custodial interrogation. When is a person not given bail? Number one, when you require him for custodial interrogation because your investigation is very much afoot and you're looking into various aspects and you require his interrogation in custody to assist that investigation. Second, your investigation is afoot and it is a possibility if that person is not in custody, he could in some way hamper that investigation, either with witnesses or with documents or otherwise. And of course, the third is escaping completely from jurisdiction, which I don't think anyone is bothered here. I think here CBI is really saying that we need at least 5 days because we have a lot of leads. We want to find out where these leads are going to lead us. We need custodial investigation. Equally, the nature of the investigation is such that his immediate release on bail is likely to affect our investigation and hamper our investigation.
All right.
This will possibly be the two grounds on which the CBI will to continue having him in custody.
All right. Let me quickly go across to Khaliqur Rahman. So I'm sorry to interrupt you because we're almost out of time. I want to quickly bring in the BRS spokesperson Khaliqur Rahman, who we were trying to connect to earlier and couldn't speak to. Khaliqur Rahman, there are very serious charges as per what the CBI is saying. They are just allegations at this point of time, perhaps, but certainly they point towards the role of the BRS and certain leaders who have been named. They've been interrogated in the past, including your own party's leader, and apparently facilitating certain companies which actually benefited, including the company of Mr. Raghav Reddy and others, including Samir Mahindru. And that was as per the recommendations of certain leaders who met at a 5-star hotel in the national capital. So it does appear that there is also some serious questions that your party's leaders would have to answer through the course of the investigation in coming days.
Let me tell you, because all these questions, in fact, have already been given to CBI. And why CBI is not making it to the public? Let CBI make it to the public. Let it come into the public domain, so that why and apart from that, Dinesh Arora, who turned into an approver, and the CBI is trying to rely on the statement given by Dinesh Arora, who CBI has made himself as an approval. How can CBI, just first made him an accused, and later on, just because he to free himself from all this, he was made an approval, and he was actually given a free hand by CBI.
Okay.
So this is something I think, it is a vicious circle. And let me tell you, because all this heat, what I see is to divert the attention of the country from Adani's.
Okay.
This is what
all being done to divert attention. Yes, Anand Ragnathan wants to intervene. Yes, Sanju, I see your hand going up. I'm going to give Anand a chance to rebut that. Yes.
Madhav, very quickly, I have just dug out this tweet of Mr. Manish Sisodia. He hasn't yet deleted it. It's from 2013, and I'm just quoting him verbatim. बिजली कंपनियों की दलाली कर बिजली महंगी करने वाली शीला दीक्षित को चोर कहने के मुकदमे में अरविंद केजरीवाल की सुनवाई और मेरी जमानत नहीं लेंगे. He is calling Sheila Dikshit doing dalali of Bijli Company. This is the same person who is accusing a chief minister of dalali without any shred of evidence. And just 10 seconds, I want to respond to Ms. Huda, who's a very good friend. She talked about how Arvind Kejriwal apportions responsibility. It's a teamwork. Can she please explain? If AAP has so many good leaders, no dearth of good leaders, how on earth is one person, Manish Sisodia, handling 18 ministries? 18! Is he a mythological figure that has 20 heads and 20 arms?
Huda Zariwala. Another related question to the governance, madam, is that the GOM, which had 3 ministers, the GOM had 3 ministers. 2 of them are behind bars. No puns intended.
18 ministries.
Okay. So I would like to respond to that by a small... Yes. And please allow me to respond. I mean, how is Modi ji privatizing right from everything, from SAIL, GAIL, BHAIL, LIC, everything? I mean, the entire Modi-Adani nexus. I mean, can we please ask questions on that as well? My answer to your question is a question itself, which is, how is Modi ji...
You're not answering his question. He asked you a fair question.
How is Modi ji everywhere? I mean,
he has asked you a simple question about the 18 portfolios. That's a simple question.
Well, Modi ji happens to run entire BJP, entire central ministries. I mean, practically, he's privatized everything, right from ports.
All right. It doesn't seem like we're going to get any...
To LIC, to GAIL, to to SAIL, to rail.
All right. Shifting the goalpost, offense is the best form of defense. Those are perhaps the only lines that come to my mind at this point of time, but we're completely out of time. I'll have to leave it there for the moment. Sanju Verma, Dr. Anand Ragnathan, Arima Sundaram, Umesh Sehgal, Ravi Srivastav, Huda Zariwala, Khaliqur Rahman, and Advocate Kapil Madan. Thanks to all of you for joining us on this very important debate on the Newshour this evening.